You're now listening to the Adiel Gorel Show. Each episode, I'll bring you the latest news from my discussions with top health and wellness experts so that you can bring yourself into better health. Today, on the Adiel Gorel Show.
So well said. What a great question. When you wake up in the morning, every day, even myself, everybody here, when you first thing you open your eyes, you check in with yourself, right? Some days you feel fantastic. Some day you wake up feeling, oh, I wish I could go back to bed. Or some day you wake up going, I'm not sure how I feel, let me get up. So when you are not feeling well.
So, to make it more doable in the real world, keeping the heart and lungs fit, that would mean, aerobic type of an activity. Hiking, walking fast. I know that running is popular, but I know that also has a lot of effect on the feet, on the knees. So but hiking and then doing yoga or Pilates, or I know that you are a master of qigong, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
How can that apply to our lives?
Yes. Well, like you say, qigong, Pilates, yoga, some people say that's not exercise. So I go, how do you know? You try to do your yoga very slowly, extremely slow. That's very cardiovascular. To hold that position in a very slow form for 30 seconds, for 45, that's very cardiovascular. So to keep the heart and the lungs healthy, you have to see, I often see people that are 80 years old, 85, they're still playing tennis for 2 hours. And I also see people that are 50, 55, they say, I can't even chase after a ball, on the tennis court right now. So forget about jogging, forget about that. There's a lot of impact on their joints. As we age, our joints, the synovial fluid inside every joint becomes less and less because we become more and drier. So they need a lot of fluid. Our brain needs a lot of fluid. Our saliva, our mouth needs a lot of fluid. So if you become a little bit more drier, you actually are not very suitable to do a lot of hard cardio exercises. I'm not saying don't do it, but just be able to check in with yourself. Like when you wake up today, I feel fantastic. I feel I can play tennis for an hour, or I'm not sure I wanted to go to my tennis lesson today because I don't feel well. So that's the cardiovascular. You have to see where you are checking with yourself. Whereas qigong, meditation, yoga, tai chi, all these more ancient type of exercises is suitable for all ages. So even in an elderly person, if they just know a few moves of the soft, gentle exercises, a lot of movement are very gentle, and you can do it in a chair, that we encourage them to continue to do it. It's that persistency, like I said, the old school training, persistency and being able to sustain where you are and then move a little bit more. For elderly patient, I usually say just improve 5%, 10%, that's all. You're never gonna improve 50% immediately, but we go step by step, and when we persistent, we will get there. I hope this answered your questions.
For the cardiovascular effect, I think that running and maybe even tennis itself, which is, again, stop and go and run and stop and go, and may not be so good for the joints, but isn't hiking, just first of all, you are in nature, you see the trees, you see the sky, you can choose to hike uphill, you get your heart working. Wouldn't that be a good thing, for us to do?
I think you're absolutely right. It's you've heard about in Japan, they did a study like 30 years ago on forest bathing, how the forest can have all this endorphin that secretes out, how you feel when you're hiking. If you are hiking in that environment, if there's a lot of trees, that usually means it's in a higher altitude. So naturally, that's already cardiovascular already. Yes, going uphill in different grades actually retrain your heart, retrain different type of muscle on the thigh, on the shin, to let the body reconnect the need. If you don't use it, you will lose it. So the cardiovascular hiking is so natural, doesn't cost you any money. But make sure, I just wanted to remind people, wear good supportive shoes and bring water with you when you are hiking. And don't talk when you're hiking. Don't talk on your cell phone. Don't chit chat with your friend. Enjoy the moment of nature. Let your body absorb that forest bathing. Let that bath wash through and purify and remove the toxin as you walk each steps up.
We had some discussions on this show with breathing experts, and they said that we should try at least to breathe in through the nose and breathe out through the nose. Mm-hmm. Obviously, when we talk, we breathe a little more through the mouth, but apparently when we exhale through the mouth, we lose a lot more moisture through the mouth. So then that could dehydrate us even further. So that was an interesting thought. So what about acupuncture? Somebody viewing this show, should they go and find an acupuncture, center or doctor near them?
Mm-hmm. I think that's absolute. Of course, I'm an acupuncturist. I would say yes to that question. Yes, I think if they can find someone who practices the traditional Chinese medicine, if you have a chronic illnesses that there's no way that anyone from the conventional medicine can treat, or there's a chance that you have to be on medication for life, yes, definitely find someone, at least beginning to look into it, and then find someone that can actually assist you to regain that balance, that yin and the yang balance, to encourage not just putting acupuncture needles on you, but also educate you so you will go home with tools to do, then you have a clear understanding of what is going on. It's all about regaining that balance and harmony. Yeah. So a good acupuncturist is so important.
So then they unblock the blockages, let our own energy flow, right?
Yes.
I would like to comment that, in my opinion at least, people should probably go to acupuncture even if they don't have anything chronic or bad, just for being better.
Yes.
Right?
So in acupuncture, we have what we call the 12 regular energy meridians and 8 extraordinary meridians. So there are about 20 different energy pathways, not just one comes in, one goes out. So each energy pathway is coordinated with each organ. So think about if someone who drinks alcohol a lot. So everybody knows alcohol damages the liver, cigarette damages the lung. So their lung meridian, if you are a smoker, or their liver meridian, often they have pains that shows up. So when a patient will come in, for instance, with rotator cuff problem on the shoulders or shoulder joint pain, the lung meridian, I'm gonna raise my arm, hopefully you can see it, goes from here on this line all the way out to this line. So often we see issues on this line, whether it's color discoloration, whether there's actually more pain, whether there could be a popped blood vessel on this meridian, or whether there is a shoulder pain, like I said earlier, or joint pain that happen to be on the lung meridian in the smoker who have lung diseases that they don't heal. They've gone through years after years of injection, Botox, or steroid, or physical therapy, occupational therapy. They just don't heal. A lot of time it's that energy blockage, like you say, Adiel, it's the energy blockage that only acupuncture can precisely find out where the blockage is in which organ. We will not be able to put an acupuncture needle on the organ. It's prohibited, but we can find its own expression in the energy pathway and put the tiny little needles in and manipulate. So we can bring that balance back. So even if someone doesn't have an illness, acupuncture is often used as a tune-up for the system. So the body stays tuned in with yourself. So you had acupuncture from me before, you know, how well you feel when you first come in after, for instance, an hour of acupuncture, you feel so different. And that different, the effectiveness lasts. It doesn't disappear the next day when you wake up, it's all gone. But that effectiveness, that quiet, the stillness, that at the same time, the energetic feeling, you feel so different from when you came in to when you finish. That is the balance. That's because the stagnation has opened up and you feel that wellness. And sometimes, Adiel, I don't know if you remember, sometimes you will feel that tingling, that vibration, that numbness. Like when I do qigong work on you, go, what are you doing? I feel that there's something in there, but you cannot see. Just like acupuncture, you cannot see the blood flows, but you can feel that subtle movement that actually bring a sense of sweet and quietness towards the end of the treatment. So yes, acupuncture is totally a very, very well-balanced form. Otherwise, how will it last 3,000 years?
Well, you said something that was fascinating to me. If somebody smokes or has some lung damage, the meridian will actually cover the shoulder as well. So shoulder pain, sometimes that was very, very fascinating. Another thing from my own experience, when I saw you the last time, it was after a while. So I know that same evening, I felt I wanted to go to sleep a lot sooner and I slept a lot longer. It was as if you made many of these channels or meridians unblocked, and my body wanted to fill in the gap and heal everything and move everything. I slept incredibly long and it was very satisfying. So that was just my own experience.
Yes, a lot of people have that experience too, Adele, especially people who are have a lot going on in their brain. They're brain worker, IT people, psychiatrists, psychologists. They use their brain so much. It's very uncomfortable, very not easy to unwind. It takes many, time, hours, practice to, even with the help of medication, to go to sleep. That's the unevenness, that's the yin and the yang becomes separation, the polarity. And that's what acupuncture does to bring it back to almost similar at a self-regulatory system. Like I wanted to share that all my patients, and I am not talking about me, I'm sure many experienced acupuncturists, all my patients, they're diabetic type 2 diabetes patients. After each treatment, the next day, in the next few days, the blood sugar always is 20 points to 40 points down. That's the self-regulatory system. And these are the patients that are on insulin, all the metformin and glucophage. These are the common diabetic prevention and treatment and regimen. Even they've been on it for years. And then with the medicine, they have to keep on taking a higher dose because the body does deteriorate, right? Does age, because it just become more and more imbalanced. So with acupuncture, with even the ancient exercises, or like you said, even hiking, you actually being able to maintain, but acupuncture can actually drop that, can drop the blood pressure, can drop the blood sugar down immediately you can see the self-regulatory system is back. So with the sleep, it's the same thing too. It's that self-regulatory system. Can your body return back to the way it was? Yes, it can. If it's detected early enough, then it's very helpful.
By the way, going back to sleep, I mean, to the notion of sleep, I should say. If you hiked for an hour, or if you stretched and did some yoga or Tai Chi, you're more likely to be physically fatigued at night, and so your sleep will be deeper. You'll wake up with more energy, you'll hike longer, and etc. It's like a self-regulating mechanism. But somebody talked to me lately and said, in the current society, they felt like many people are not in their body. What she meant to say was what you were referring to about running through the head, only thinking with our mind and not connecting to what's here. So, I mean, many crazy ideas are floated by people, sometimes people with a lot of money who can execute on those crazy, ideas. I think there was a person recently who wanted to shield the earth from the sun by putting clouds. People stopped that person, but I mean, that I think is an example of an idea that comes only from the mind, not realizing the symbiotic relationship between the sun and us and our clocks and everything. Yes. So it sounds like what you're talking about, you bring us back, us creatures of the mind, with our cell phones and our phone, into the body. And the more we are in the body, I think the whole world is probably going to be a better place.
Yeah, that's what one of my point I wanted to say is, checking with yourself. If you're so into the head, right, so creative, so much into technology, and the technology has to be faster and faster so we can outbeat everyone else. So I have the fastest phone, I have the fastest internet, I have the fastest car. But what about after all that fast? What's left behind? Are your body able to catch up, right? When you, like you said, someone who have a lot in their head, right? They're often physically not healthy, right? So that's the balance of the mind and the body connection. When they become disconnected, that's when illnesses begin. And in aging population, you can see some elderly people, they age very well, very gracefully. They're very active. And at the same time, they're also physically active. They're socially active. They're also rest very well. They know when to become more active. They know when to withdraw, retreat from overactive. They know the balance between rest and active. But if you are not able to find checking with yourself and still doing the things that wears and tears you down, like sleeping so late or so early in the daytime and not waking up, following the sun, following the moon, right? Then you are actually self-destruction in a slow way that is invisible until when you do visit your doctor will say, well, looks like your cholesterol went up, looks like your blood sugar went up. Then all of a sudden the patient panic goes, oh, I should have done that. Why do you want to wait until then? Like when we are talking to my patients, when we are talking to the public, we're just keep on reminding them, if you can bring back the balance, if you already know something is already becoming imbalanced, if you're already too much in your head or too much in your physical body, then you are throwing off your balance. Ask a wise person, ask someone who's aged very gracefully. I often see, 85, 90, 95, 100-year-old people. I say, what is your balance to bring to where you are today? Is it just DNA? Is it just genetic? Or what have you done to encourage to stay young, stay healthy? And I guess we already spoke, like they do everything that's naturally what they can do, what they need to do, and they do persistently do it. And they never give up to what needs to be done.
You talked before about us all being very speedy and in a rush. And we have the phone, that's a whole world right inside this phone. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, let's say you take a person and they're very rushed and they want to achieve all kinds of goals and make money. So let's say they made a lot of money. They rushed, they got to their destination. They have a beautiful home, everything is there. Okay, now what? Now, what do they do? Mm-hmm. It's almost like we become addicted to the rushing itself. Mm-hmm. If the rushing stops, sometimes we don't even know what to do. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's where meditation, I think, is so important, because after all, when you have achieved all the wealth and whatever you wanted to achieve, you still have to sit there with yourself. Mm-hmm. You can't just keep on running, right?
Yeah. Yes. Well, what you are saying is all outside materialistic, outside satisfaction. Maybe you'll feed the inside satisfaction, but they will always have to reach and reach until they find the ultimate satisfaction. That can they stop aging? No, they cannot, right? They can make a lot of money. They can have everything that they ever wanted, but can they stop aging? No, they will die just like you and I. Right? Will they be able to die gracefully? Will they have exhausted all their brain power? That when they are 60, 70, they actually age. They actually don't have the energy anymore. They don't have that life force anymore. So it's that balance that you have to see. You know, I have patients that are young billionaire, you know, that are only in their 30s, they're already billionaires, right? I mean, they have everything that I could dream of. I wanted to be like them, but are they balanced? No, they're so into their head. That's why they come to acupuncture, so I can slow them down to unwind that. So check in with yourself, you know, check in and ask, I mean, is that joy, is that final joy, happiness that you are achieving? Is money materialistic? Is that wealth is worth it? Or is it also a balance of both mind and body wealth that will give you the aging, the independency, the livelihood that we wanted to have at our destination, at the end of our destination?
So meditation, I think, is clearly something, and again, the word could be very daunting if you hear it, meditation, no way, no time, but it just, and again, mindfulness is the cliche word that everybody throws around, but just to sit quietly and looking at the view a little bit is already a good thing to start with.
That is so hard to do, you know, just to sit, look out the window. But if you look out the window like elderly people, all they do is look out the window every day, right? To them, that's too much. So it has to be that balance, right?
Balance.
Even stop for a little bit. Meditation, you see, you know, I think in the Asian country, meditation is very natural. In our school, when I went to elementary school, we always stop, and then the whole class will sit quietly before the class starts, right? So as a young child, we don't want to be quiet. We wanted to be active. We wanted to move, run. But every class, beginning of the class, the teacher will say, everybody quiet down. We'll turn the lights off for even 30 seconds to 1 minute. That was actually the longest time when I was in my elementary school. But now I begin to realize that is to bring the calmness. That is what bring down the high blood pressure, the overactive endocrine system, the overactive brain activity in the nervous system, to bring back that regulatory system. And I've done that. I've taught meditation in a local shelter. We taught in the women's shelter where, you know, in the shelter, everybody have a very strong story behind their back. So I've been teaching at the women's shelter for the past since 2011. So one day we had a class in the backyard of the shelter where there's buses, there's baby crying, there's dogs, there's gunshots far away. It's very uneasy to just sit in the shelter's backyard to teach meditation. So I had 7 ladies. So I said, ladies, today we will do meditation. Ladies go, yeah, whatever. So I said, you don't believe me, that's fine. I said, next week I come back, I'm gonna bring my blood pressure cuff, which I did. I said, I'm gonna take each one of your blood pressure and we will meditate just 6 minutes. 6 minutes you can do, right, ladies? They say, yes. After 6 minutes, I said, I guarantee you, I will take your blood pressure right away. If it hasn't calmed down, if it doesn't lower your blood pressure, your heart rate, then I will quit. I will not teach you. I will not even mention meditation. Because living in the shelter is quite anxious. The energy is very high, very low and very high, not very balanced. So I said, meditation is very necessary for these high anxious ladies at the shelter. So we did that for 6 minutes. I had my assistant come with me. I said, I have to talk to them during the meditation. I have to teach. In order to keep that engagement between me and the ladies, I said, my assistant, you take their blood pressure. So there will be no cheating. So it's a digital blood pressure. So the ladies can see the blood pressure number and then the heart rate. So after 6 minutes, of course, there were buses, there were dogs barking, there were someone's baby barking, babies crying, the dogs were going. It was not a very quiet in the meditation Zen center. So you can imagine the scenario. But through this guided meditation, so after 6 minutes, just 6 minutes, I told ladies, don't move. So I have my assistant each take the blood pressure in front of their eyes. They all, each one lower 20 points again, just like that blood sugar. In 6 minutes, they were able to lower their heart rate, their blood pressure. So you talk about meditation, that is scientific proof. We don't have to hook them onto a neurotransmitter. We're already seeing that the mind and the meditation and its effectiveness inside the internal organ and internal circulatory system. So absolutely.
What about nutrition? What's your view of nutrition from the TCM viewpoint?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked. Food as medicine, or food is medicine in Chinese medicine, has already been for 3,000 years. We already have textbooks that dated back on the 3 super herbs or super spices that they used was ginger, turmeric, and cinnamon. These were the 3 food that was used from 3,000 years ago to now. Some of the superfood that people often hear, for instance, I'll just name a few: green tea, the EGCG, for high antioxidant, high anti-inflammatory. EGCG already is in pill form, but I say, drink the tea, don't just take the food. So if you take EGCG pill, it's used to fight against cancer, against anti-inflammatory. So you need about 4 to 5 cups of very high-end green tea, not just any over-the-counter tea. It has to be a very high-end tea. And food like beans and seeds, especially sesame seed, have the highest fat. Flaxseed, very high in nutrition, rich, high in protein. Chia seed, very good for digestive system, absorb the stomach acid to prevent acid reflux. And besides that, things like cucumber, also very high in anti-inflammatory. Mint leaf goes to the lungs, cleanse the liver. Dandelions goes to the liver, cleanse the liver, cleanse the skin, just to name a few. So, but it has to be fresh. It has to be fresh produce. And also your body has to be able to digest that kind of food. You cannot just eat a big plate of all greens, and then in an elderly person, that'll probably ruin their digestive system. First of all, your appetite has to be adequate so your body can absorb. If you have good appetite, means you have good digestive system, you have good absorption. Like younger person, they can eat, appetite is never an issue, but as you reach 55, 60, your appetite begin to slow down. At the same time, your digestive system begin to slow down. So eat the superfood, cook them very well until you can absorb them. If ginger, turmeric, cinnamon, 3 of these spices were already talked about 3,000 years ago in China, they are still being used today, right? So these, just to name a few of these superfoods, but eat them fresh and cook them well. In the Asian culture, you see we hardly eat any salad. We hardly drink iced tea. So the salad in the United States, they're with the Western influences, but in the Asian culture, we never eat raw food. Even fruits, we cook them to take into our body. Our body temperature is 98.6. So if you drink something icy cold, or if you eat a lot of raw food, your stomach have to secrete so much stomach acid to protect the stomach wall from overstimulating. So that lowers your energy. Why, you ask about diet. Why do some people after they eat, they feel great? Whereas other people, they eat, they go into a food coma. That's how their digestive system is working or is not working. So whether superfood or regular food, always in general, I would say proportion, adequate proportion, go in the middle, don't go too much of one or the other. So in general, make sure your appetite is good, your digestion is good, then your absorption will be good, and that will be able to sustain what you need that food for. If you eat a lot of protein to grow the protein on your body, you have to be able to digest it. Otherwise, it actually causes burden to the digestive system. So that's, besides just eating, but can you absorb that much food?
So, Erlene, if somebody wants to read more or get some more resources, where can they go?
Well, I would say to begin with, just type in traditional Chinese medicine. Traditional, not just Chinese medicine. A lot of traditional Chinese medicine are all mixed with modern medicine. There's nothing wrong with that, but everything has to start from the traditional. Read what people have done from many 100,000 years ago to now. Look on National Institute of Health, NIH. They have a lot of great scientific research article on this ancient medicine, on food, on acupuncture, on meditation, on Tai Chi, on what is balance, what is aging. That would be a very reliable resource for someone to look into. Don't just listen to what I'm saying, but do your own research to fulfill your curiosity and fulfill your knowledge, and then take action.
Erlene, I know that your practice is full to the brim. You are booked for many months. Do you want people to reach out to you, or you don't have room in your practice right now?
Very good question, Adiel. Like I said earlier, my passion is to bring education and knowledge in self-caring and sustainable development in their mental health and their physical health. Even though I may not be able to see them in person, but perhaps through your show that they will already gain some knowledge, or they can feel free to always email me, and you can put my email address at the end, and then they can always email me. If I cannot assist them, I will always be able to deviate them to the right department, and then hopefully they will be able to find that helpful.
Do you want to tell us your email anyway, verbally?
Okay, sure. Just my name, ErleneChiang@gmail.com. Just
Simple enough.
At gmail.com.
Well, Erlene, I know it was a pleasure, and I'm very thankful that you took some time for this interview. I know how incredibly busy you are helping everyone. We learned a lot. I hope our viewers can learn a lot. Thank you for your generosity, and I appreciate that you were here with us today.
The pleasure is all mine. I am so honored to be on your show. I am so honored to be able to share a little bit, and I appreciate you and your viewers tremendously. Thank you. The pleasure is mine.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me today for the second part of our amazing interview. If you didn't catch part 1, don't miss out. The link is in the description below for you. And be sure to click the subscribe button for more videos.